It's Thursday, the 13th of July, 2023. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories that you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's jump into story number 1. This is an interesting one. Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe has outlined new processes for the central bank, including fewer board meetings, press conferences after interest rate meetings to discuss decisions, and a few internal changes as well.
In what could be Dr. Lowe's last speech before his possible replacement is announced, the Governor said the number of board meetings will be cut from 11 to 8 from next February, and post-meeting press conferences will also commence then. Future Reserve Bank board meetings will be longer than is currently the case, and board members will have the opportunity to attend the internal staff policy discussions that happen in advance of those meetings. Lowe also revealed that the central bank's monetary policy framework will undergo a comprehensive review every 5 years or so.
Big changes for the bank, but what did Dr. Lowe say on monetary policy?
Well, he said it's a complex picture with forces pushing prices higher, labour markets, rent, electricity and other forces alleviating inflation, lower household demand, a decline in commodity prices, while he reiterated the desire to ensure the current period of high inflation is only temporary. Lowe did focus on the notion that higher interest rates are working and are pushing towards a better balance of supply and demand. He said economic growth will be low for the next couple of years because monetary policy operates with a lag. Certainly higher rates are possible. They're not a lay-down misere, Michael. It will depend very much on the data from here.
All right, just a very quick one, Sean. Any more on the announcement of who will be governor when Phil Lowe's current contract ends in September?
Well, Lowe yesterday said he'd be honoured to continue as governor. Treasurer Jim Chalmers yesterday morning said he'll take his recommendation to Cabinet soon, adding it was a big job and a big decision. The two, Jim Chalmers and Phil Lowe, fly together on Sunday to India for a group of 20 meeting of finance ministers and central bank governors. That could be awkward if Phil Lowe doesn't get the job.
Oh, being stuck on a plane with your ex.
Oh. Something like that.
Something along those lines, maybe a little bit more professional than that. All right, on to story number 2. Some of the big bank CEOs were in Canberra yesterday appearing before a parliamentary committee, and there were plenty of questions about the plight of mortgage holders.
National Australia Bank boss Ross McEwen said his bank had checked in with more than 500,000 customers since rates started to rise and borrowers appear resilient. The number of customers in hardship, while growing, remains below pre-COVID levels. McEwen said there is a chronic undersupply of housing, and he said government and the industry need to work together to address scams. ANZ boss Shane Elliott was also in Canberra. He doesn't like the idea of banks being mandated to check in with customers to put them on better home loan rates. He too said his customers were proving resilient. More than half of ANZ's customers had sought to renegotiate their rate or refinance their home loan in response to rising interest rates. ANZ has provisioned about $4 billion to account for potential future losses. That's even more than during COVID-19.
Story number 3, another day, another story about PwC Australia, which has revealed another significant breach involving conflicts of interest and misuse of government information over the past 5 years.
In its response to questions on notice from Parliament, PwC said it was aware of 2 matters in the past 5 years. We know about one, the firm's use of confidential tax information that has led to the removal of a number of senior partners and a business and PR disaster for the firm. But what about the other one? PwC gave little detail, though it did say it occurred in 2018. Also yesterday, one of PwC's rivals, Deloitte, in its response to Parliament, said it had disciplined a staff member in the last year for misuse of government information.
Story number 4, Australians have a new favourite travel destination, Sean, with Indonesia, think Bali, overtaking New Zealand to become our favourite travel destination for the first time since borders reopened early last year.
There were almost 108,000 Australians returning from short-term visits to Indo in May compared to 73,000 from New Zealand, according to the Bureau of Statistics. Most of the Indonesian travellers are thought to have come from Bali. Fiji is another destination attracting crowds, while India and Singapore are moving up the rankings. The number of travellers to the US remains well below pre-pandemic levels, while there is steady growth again in trips to the UK, Thailand and Japan. When it comes to overseas visitors to Australia, the Kiwis account for 1 in 5, Americans are next, then Indians, Singaporeans and Chinese. Now, until COVID, China provided the largest cohort of people coming to visit. They've fallen down the rankings.
Story number 5. Sean, I don't really know what this has to do with business, but I suppose it's about the world we live in and business as a part of that. So scientists believe They are on the brink of proving the Earth has entered a new era for the first time in 11,700 years with the advent of the Anthropocene epoch, or the point when humanity's influence on the planet's geology became irreversible.
So a small lake in an area outside Toronto has been identified as the site to provide the formal reference point for the new era after extensive research by the International Anthropocene Working Group, made up of geologists and historical scientists. That's according to the Financial Times. The group was formed in 2009. It set itself the challenge of defining and establishing the Anthropocene era in relation to the Earth's 4.6 billion year timeline. The current Holocene epoch began at the end of the last ice age. Now, the scientists involved say changes to the planet can no longer be explained without taking into account human activity and interventions, the effects of which have been evident since the 1950s. The concept of the Anthropocene was first introduced by Nobel Prize-winning atmospheric chemist Paul Crutzen in 2000. Slowly gained interest and acceptance in the scientific community. Apparently, we're on the verge of a whole new epoch.
That is quite exciting.
I think so. I mean, given that the world's been around for 4.5 billion years, it's quite a moment when you say we're going from one epoch to another.
Yeah, we will be talking about this for some time.
Oh, you like that.
There we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Thursday, the 13th of July, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.